setting up to do a watercolor painting outside, and this is traditionally called plein air painting. Painting en plein air, outside. So it's a wonderful thing to do, it's a lot of fun, but there are many factors that cause problems when you're painting outside in an environment that you can't really control. Weather is one of them that artists for centuries have been dealing with painting en plein air. But one of the things that painters have had to address, which I'd like to share with you today, is the sun. So very often the subject that we choose to paint is something that is compelling because of the light, because of the actual sunlight. The problem it creates, however, is when the sun is shining irregularly on the paper or the canvas. That creates problems where you can't actually look at the colors that you're painting with accurately, especially when the light is dappled. So, my favorite painter, John Singer Sargent, was photographed a few times painting en plein air, painting outside, and he always had umbrellas with him. He had a whole sort of kit for painting outside, an easel, palettes, and chairs or stools, but the umbrellas were so crucial to Sargent when he was painting outside because he could control the shade, and he could cover his work so that there was an even amount of light on it and the sun wasn't shining directly on his paper in a dappled way. Now, I have seen those pictures, and ever since I saw those pictures, I have been very covetous of those umbrellas. I started searching all over the internet looking for an antique painting umbrella just like Sargent had, and it just didn't exist out there until last month. I was at one of my favorite stores in New York City, John Derian and Company, and John Derian actually hired me to paint his storefront sign. So I go in there regularly whenever I'm in the neighborhood and just see what he has. He has a lot of new things, but he also brings in antique things. And a month ago, I could not believe what he had. Tucked away in a corner was this. And when I saw it, I kind of stopped breathing. And I started to get like this feeling of being very nervous. And when I went over and picked it up, this was sitting behind it. And it was one of those moments in my life where I felt like I had asked for something. I had actually like yearned for this, and here it was in front of me. It was almost as if someone from beyond, maybe Sargent, was saying, here you go. So I picked it up, and I was kind of shaking. I was with my friend Laura. She also paints en plein air. She that's her thing, actually, painting landscapes. And we were just we were stunned because this is exactly what Sargent used, and this is old. So it's a two-piece umbrella. The base has an iron rod. Look at this thing. It's round where it goes into the bamboo, so the pole is actually bamboo, but it's tapered and pointed. It's like a pyramid at the end, so that's the stake that goes into the ground. Even just this is really beautiful. And then the umbrella itself, so I've been looking for a painter's umbrella, and I thought maybe I could find something that works. The key thing is it needs to be white. The umbrellas that Sargent used were white canvas, and that affects what's coming through the cloth onto the canvas or the watercolor paper. It can't be a color, because if it's blue or yellow or green, that's going to cast a shade of color onto the white paper and onto my palette, and I won't accurately be seeing the colors properly. So it needs to be a white umbrella, and a white canvas umbrella is what Sargent had, and I just could not believe this. It's all intact and it still works. And this feeling, I think I have an umbrella fetish. All my friends that know me really well know how much I love antique umbrellas. The feeling of pushing this open almost to a point where it feels dangerous, like it's gonna break, and then having it catch the latch. Look at this thing. It is not rusted. There are spots all over the cloth, but that's okay. And all of this hardware is brass. Like this is brass, this is brass. There's a little canvas reinforcement here that was all stitched by hand. So this is how this works. This part gets staked into the ground, and then the top of this has a thread that fits into here. So I saw this and I was just like, I just couldn't believe it. I'm gonna set it up for you. But then I saw something else. So let me set this up for you first. So the stake goes in the ground, and you angle the umbrella so that it's covering the sun. That's the great thing about this. Sometimes Sargent would have it like right in front of him like this. Sometimes it was behind him or right overhead. So right now I can see that the sun is going to move beyond that maple tree, and I'm just going to put this right overhead. It's about 11 o'clock. I know where the sun is going to move. I'll put this here. Look at this thing. I mean, the thing about these old tools is they're utilitarian, but look at this setup. Look how beautiful this is. So now, where I'm gonna sit, and my piece of watercolor paper is completely shaded, but it's shaded with a neutral light colored cloth. I'm gonna go and run and get the other thing that I found. Do you know what this is? Show it to you close up. So this was part of this 19th century plein air painting kit. This was the stool, and it has a leather seat and a beautiful wooden handle that looks like the head of a duck, and it has an iron stake. So this just gets staked into the ground, and then I could sit on it. I cannot tell you how happy it made me finding this stuff. You know, I think there is something to be said for even asking out loud. And I will admit to you that over the years, I have wanted to paint like Sargent so badly. And I know that's a cliche. Many artists want to paint like Sargent. But I've wanted it so badly that there have been times when I've even asked out loud, what would you do while I'm painting? And I'm asking Sargent. And I do feel like putting that energy out there, sometimes in some beautiful, magical way, someone responds. And I don't know where these came from. I think they came from France, but they landed in my hands. And I am so grateful. Part of the process of painting for me is not just the technique, but it is the whole picture. It is the setup. I feel like it's very important to be inspired when you sit down to work, when you sit down to practice. It really helps when you're motivated and inspired by beauty. not only the beauty of what you're looking at, but the beauty of the completely utilitarian tools. Everything I have with my watercolor painting practice, like my brushes. These are beautiful Isabey brushes. I made this case. My friend Lizzie showed me how to make a brush holder when she saw how haphazardly I was transporting my brushes. So this just gets closed like this, and it rolls up. I have a few watercolor palettes, but this one right here is my traveling palette, and it's completely metal. It's just an empty Schminke tin palette that has cups that you can insert, and I put my wet color in there. And now I am using these beautiful plein air painting tools, especially that umbrella. So I'm gonna get to work and start painting.